Praise the Lord. Since I can't greet each one of you, you can just stretch your hand like this. Yeah, and then you do like this. Man, thank you. Now I feel greeted by each one of you. And I thank God for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, Area Dean, for giving me a chance to share. And I always say that the pulpit belongs to the vicar. So he shares with whoever he wishes. And for me to find that favor, that I can share the word of God in his presence, it is a great honor. My name is Peter Mbekenya, and I'm born again. And I'm a member of this church, even though I don't come here regularly. I serve at ACK St. Luke's Church, Kenyatta, in All Saints Cathedral Diocese. That's where I serve. And this month I'm on leave, and that is why I'm available. The other Sundays I'll be available in my parish, and I thank God for giving me that opportunity to be a member of two churches. One where I serve, and one where I am being served. I don't want to talk much about myself, but I want us to go straight to the Word of God. And I was here last Sunday. Maybe many of you did not recognize me because I was not in my clerical attires. And when I'm coming to this church, I will only wear my clerical attires when I'm serving. Other times I'm a member, so I stayed there in the member seat, and I followed the sermon as the area dean shared as we opened this month with the theme of practical faith. And he shared the introduction of practical faith, and that is where I'm building on. And today's topic, as we build on the same, we'll discuss Christian response to hard times. Christian response to hard times. And before I start, let me give you a short scenario. There was one time when a professor came for visiting as a tourist in Kenya, and as you know, whenever a tourist comes, he is given a tour guide. And he happened to be going to Masai Mara, and he was given a tour guide who was a Maasai. And when they were in their trip, they were to spend one of the days in the field and in a tent. And they were staying in the same tent with this Maasai and the professor. They were in the same tent. And in the middle of the night, as they were sleeping, the Maasai woke up the professor. And he told him, "Professor, wake up. What can you see?" The professor looked up and he said, "I can see the stars. I can see a very clear sky. And it looks nice." The Maasai asked again, "What can you see?" He said, "Okay, I can see the good patterns that are formed by the stars. Some have forming a pattern, others are just scattered everywhere, and I can see the moon. I can see, it is nice." The Maasai again asked, "What else can you see?" He said, "I can see the goodness of God because he's the one who created all these things. And when you look at the galaxies praying around on earth, you'll be happy." The Maasai continued, "What else can you see?" And this time the professor looked at Maasai and asked, "What is there else to see?" The Maasai told the professor, "Our tent is stolen. That is why you can see the sky." Now you can see the two scenarios. The professor is busy explaining things in the sky, but the Maasai is looking at where he is. What happened? Where is our tent? He is looking at the basics. And this morning, allow me to look at the basics. I know there are so many things, and you expect me maybe to come with a very complicated sermon so that you feel that that was a preacher today. Maybe the language I'll use is so basic, but that is where I am today. That we may understand, all of us, how Christians should respond to hard times. And as we talk about hard times are everywhere. We are just from COVID-19, when it had just subsided. We are not sure whether another surge is on the way coming. We just hope it will not. The prices of basic commodities have gone high. Some of them are not available. Within these 2 weeks, you have had somebody who have a 15 million car, but is looking for 100 worth of fuel just to take him home. It is not money that he doesn't have, but he can't follow the vehicle. There's no fuel. The weather patterns have changed. By this time, if it was the time we knew, we should be having floods along the streets. The rain seemed to be held. I don't know where. It is not coming. School corridors have changed. And with the change of school corridors, it means dipping deeper into our pockets as parents. Because we used to have 3 terms. We have 4. And the fees is not reduced. You must pay for all the 4. Now we have had people being overwhelmed by issues in their life, and some have taken suicide as a result. Recently we had people complaining from 𝐏𝐚𝐥𝐦 that the suicide cases are so many, and they are wondering what is happening. Previous to that, there was Muranga complaining about the same thing. And these things are meeting us all. And sometimes, we preachers, we preach with so much a strong zeal that you may think we have slept in heaven and woken up on earth. And that's why I was glad when the area dean was sharing his story last week of a problem of a child who was sick. So that you understand that we are also in the same place where you are. That when these things are hitting each one of us, the clergy is not exempted. None is exempted. In times like this, the most common and popular response is to worry. People are worried. You tend to give up. You tend to despair. You tend to be discouraged. And that is why you hear people saying, there is no point voting. Have you heard people saying so? This time I will not. Because that is the response that you think is best given the situation. But let me tell you, that is the worst resolution you can ever make. Because you think you are good, and the people you have been electing all other times have frustrated you, have not done what you expected, and you think there is no need voting. You know what will happen? You are a good person. That is why you are not voting. But the bad people will go, gang up, and vote their own. Are you making it any better? You better vote. You are a good one. And by the way, we are not voting for any good person. We are choosing between 2 evils. Which is the lesser evil in this case? Because you look at any time, whether unasema Kenya inazimia ama inakwisha, whichever way, you look at people and you are like, we still do not get the best people. So we tend to say there is no need trying. There is no need looking for treatment. You are pronounced with maybe terminal illness, and you are like, okay, I better die. Some years back, we buried a very good Christian because she was diagnosed with HIV/AIDS. That was around 2002. And it was brought, she suspected it was brought by the husband. And she said, I don't even want to take the medicine. And she ignored the medicine until she died. She was hopeless. And we tend to go the same way. That when you're told you are with cancer, and you're like, okay, let me die and leave my family a little bit richer because we are going to drain all the money that we have. That is the most popular way that we are likely to go. We most times say, it won't make change. No need trying. And we are sometimes tempted to think that we are suffering because we are in Kenya. We think other countries are better off than us. Let me give you a scenario. America is one of the most developed countries. And everybody wants to be there because they think life there is easy. And it's without many challenges as we have here. The population of America is about 335 million people. I want you to get these statistics. 335 million people are citizens of America, or around there. Over 25 million have high blood pressure. And 1 million is being added every other year. 25 million, and probably next year, it will be 25 and a half because a few others will have died and 1 million will have added on top. 8 million people have stomach ulcers. These are scientific statistics. 12 million people are alcoholics. Now listen to this. 250 million tranquilizers prescriptions are filled every year. I know you did not get that. Tranquilizers are drugs that are used to reduce anxiety, fear, tension, agitation, and other mental disturbances. Now, every year, there are 230 million, more than half the population, have taken tranquilizers. Well, it may have been that one person have repeated more than once, but scientifically, it means that more than half of the 335 million are on drugs that are related to anxieties. Where do anxieties come from? Where do high blood pressure mostly come from? Why are these people going to alcoholic? Because they are equally disappointed. So you may think that those other countries are better than us. Now, let's come closer where we want to hear. We admire biblical heroes, that we preach sermons and we tailor our sermons to encourage you to copy their character. But even them, they were not spared of hard times. And you can give examples and examples. We need to remind ourselves that also those heroes of the Bible, they lived at difficult times of their time. Talk of Elijah. Do you think he was going to the cave because life was good? He was running away from problems. He had an issue with Jezebel and he found, I can't live around. I must hide somewhere. Talk of David and Saul. David had to hide, had to run away because he was going through a hard time. Talk of Joseph. Going to jail, being sold by brothers. Do you think it was nice? It wasn't. He was still passing through hard times. Talk of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When Nebuchadnezzar came to take Israel captives. He did not leave them because they were Christians. They were equally taken away as captives. So they suffered the same way all other citizens were suffering. The early church experienced difficulties, immense difficulties. And even when James is writing and talking about faith, he is writing to Christians who have been displaced from Palestine, from Jerusalem, because of their faith, and they had to run away to other Gentile cities. That was not a good time. It was a hard time. The hard times we are experiencing have been there for generations. Only the style changes. And even after us, there will be hard times for the generations that are coming. So it is our response that can make things different. Hard times will always be there. It will not be any better. But we can make it better by our response, how we respond. Our attitude is the one that should change. If someone steps on your toe in a bus or in a matatu, it depends. It is not about how he stepped on your toe. It now depends on how you respond. And you have seen how people respond, yeah? And those who are drivers, you know, when you are driving and you are very comfortable on your way, and then somebody carelessly dashes in your front and then brakes, what words came in your mouth? Or ulisikia wakisema aje? The offended person. The words you are like, okay, I don't want to be seen. I'm with this person. The response is the one that matters. If somebody just from nowhere decides to call you a hyena, now all of us will be looking, what is your response? Tutakuwa tukiangalia, atajibu aje? Yes, huyo amemwita hyena. Naye atajibu aje? So it is how you respond that makes it better or even worse. If you respond by saying you are also a wadog, what do you think will come out of there? The situation will worsen. So that's why we are talking about our response during these hard times. And this is our response is now where Christianity, as they say, the rubber meets the road. That is now where Christianity is gauged. Our action should display faith. The world will not treat us in any different way because we believe. It is us who should respond differently because we have faith. Sijui kama mlisikia hii wimbo tulikuwa tunaimba kitambo wale wa age yangu. Tambarare, kwa Yesu ni tambarare. Nyinyi hamkukuwako. Tulikuwa tunaimba kwa Yesu ni tambarare. Now even when we are preaching those days, we would tell people, come to Jesus. Hapa hakuna shida, torokea shida, kuja kwa Yesu. Only to come in and you find sio tambarare kama vile niliambiwa. It is different. Now, this one you know. Jesu nyongerera. Jesu nyongerera. Now, those who do not hear that language is saying that Jesus increased my faith. I want to see by a show of hand, how many of you would say that prayer, that Jesus increased my faith? How many would say that prayer? Wow, everyone would say that prayer. Now, that prayer that we all want to pray about, that we want our faith to be increased. Wacha niseme kama vijana, wacha niwapeleke na rieng venye hiyo prayer inasema. And I'll give you some examples. If you have a gift of interpretation of tongues, there must be somebody who will speak in tongues for you to interpret. Is it? Otherwise, your gift of interpretation will not be displayed anywhere. It will have no field. If you are a good cook, we can only know when you cook food. We can't just tell that you are a good cook and you have never seen you cook. If you are a competent pilot, it is about how many hours you have been in the air piloting that plane. And actually, the most competent one have the most hours of piloting. A football match cannot be played in a volleyball pitch. The two cannot agree. You cannot play table tennis on a pool table. I know now you know where I'm headed. Now, you have just prayed that God increase my faith. What are you telling God? Create a situation, allow a situation that is so challenging that only faith will penetrate through. So you have prayed that prayer. God, Jesus, increase my faith. The next time when you find yourself in difficult situation, don't complain. You have asked for it. That's the only way it can come. We cannot know whether you have faith by you being seated here. When you are seated here, I'm only seeing good Christians who are smiling, you expect a lot of good things. But here, Christianity will not be displayed here. Faith will not be displayed here. It is until you go to your workplace tomorrow and then you meet this cruel boss, and that is where Christianity will be felt. It is until you go back to your home area and you find this arrogant neighbor who pours, that is where faith will be felt. Challenging and difficult moments are fields where we exercise our faith. Asking God to increase our faith is a prayer to God so that He can create some moments where we can exercise our faith, our increased faith. Now, back to our topic. How should Christians respond to hard times? It is by exercising their faith. Our response to hard times that we are in is by exercising our faith. Psalm 1, and I know some of you know it, talks about the blessed person. And in verse 3, it says that this blessed person bears fruit. Okay, let me read this because it's displayed there. That person, that is the blessed person, is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yield its fruits in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Now go to the third line. Which yield its fruits in season. Stop there. Fruits have seasons. Right now, the mangoes are facing out, and that's why you are finding the prices are going higher. There was a time it was even 10 bob or 5 bob, you could get a mango. Because it has a season. And you are required to bear fruit in season. It is you to determine which fruit is required at this season. With your arrogant boss, it's a season for humility. That you show humility. If you have an irritating neighbor, it is a season for you to show love. If you have a member of a family who is a know-it-all, unajua kuna watu wanajua kila kitu. They have everything to say, they have something to say about everything. And they disturb people completely. If you have such a member of a family, it is a season for you to practice patience. The quarrelsome and provoking customer that you get in your business every other time, and you will not fail to come, ndio tu akukoroge akili. That is a field for you to practice self-control. Salvation is not when we give our life to Christ. It is a lifestyle. When I gave my life to Christ, it was in March 25th, 1990. And by the way, I gave my life to Christ. I got born again for convenience purposes. I was in secondary school, and those were the times when there was bullying. And if you calculate those days, 25th of March, we have almost gone one term, yeah? And I had noted that the boys, I was in a boys' school, that were born again were not bullied as much. So I got born again to get that nijifiche hapo. But even though I was not serious, God was serious with me. Because he provided people who encouraged me. And from that day, I went on and on. But that is not where salvation is. It is the lifestyle that I have lived since then. How I go every day behaving myself as a Christian. Our Christianity is not felt in this church. It should be felt out there. In our neighborhood. If our neighbors cannot confirm that we are born again, then we are not responding to the issues that are coming to our way in the right way. Today is a Palm Sunday. And I want to draw your attention to this donkey that carried Jesus. It was a donkey like any other. But this moment, it was special because it had Jesus. We are people like any other out there. But there's something that brings our speciality, that brings in a difference because we have Jesus. If you don't have an opportunity in your life to portray this Jesus, then you are not worth having him. We will face challenges like any other human being. But our faith will make us different by how we respond. The donkey that carried Jesus had no experience carrying people. We don't need this experience of these hard times so that we can do better. It is by faith that we can respond effectively, putting our little faith in action. Hauhitaji uombee mtu apone ndio ujue you have faith. Your little faith of showing those different attributes of Christian in its season, then we are responding to difficult times. Times will not change. Hard times will not change. Will not be any better. But our response of faith can make a heaven for someone. Some people look at us and say, okay, if these people are facing the same suffering as we are, yet they seem to be different. They seem to be enjoying. Why not join them? We may not preach with words to our neighbors, but we can preach by the way we respond to issues. Can you evaluate yourself and see how did you respond to that hard time that was placed in your life? When you had that quarrel, can you say that that response you gave was out of faith? When you are in need, when you had lacked school fees, and everybody knew you did not have, Did you respond in a way that gave hope to other people? Our response as Christians should give people hope in this hopeless world. And as I said, hopelessness, hard times is everywhere and will always be there. But how we respond can make people desire to have this salvation. It is my prayer this morning that as we respond to the issues that are brought in our ways, we will respond with the faith that portrays we are different from others. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.